Okay, you know the one thing that always gets me with religion? It's the lack of receipts.
Uh-huh.
Like, if there's a spiritual realm, why doesn't the universe just show us? Why make it such a guessing game?
It's the ultimate sticking point, isn't it? If it's real, why is it hidden?
Exactly.
Well, we have a visual guide today called Why Religion Requires Faith, and it tackles that exact frustration. It basically argues that the lack of receipts isn't a bug in the system.
It's the main feature.
It is the main feature. The graphic splits everything into two perspectives, a worldly view and a spiritual view.
And it feels less like a simple comparison and more like a diagnosis of how we process reality.
It really is. So our mission here is to explore this whole concept of an intentionally veiled reality. We're going to look at how swapping those lenses changes everything, how you see justice, evidence, even just the random struggles of daily life.
All right, let's start with the skeptic's lens, the worldly view on the left side of the chart. The imagery here is pretty bleak. You've got rolling dice, this tangled mess of scribbles.
Right.
It's basically saying life is just noise.
Random noise, yeah. Through this lens, there's no scriptwriter. Things just happen. But the most striking part for me is how this view handles fairness. The source highlights a justice problem.
Oh yeah, this image really stuck with me. It shows a scale. On one side, you've got a flower, which I guess represents good deeds, but it's way lighter than the other side, which has a fox sitting on it.
The fox, it's a classic symbol for, like, cleverness or deceit, right? The worldly view looks at the data and says, being good doesn't always pay.
Cheaters prosper.
Cheaters prosper. The fox outweighs the flower because, in a purely physical world, survival and success often reward the ruthless, not the righteous.
That's depressing, but honestly, it's hard to argue with based on what we see around us. If this life is all there is, the math just doesn't add up.
And that leads to the next logical step.
You ask for proof of something better. The guide calls this the evidence trap.
Right. You see the little beakers and atoms? This view demands repeatable proof. It's the scientific method. If I can't measure it or weigh it or, replicate it in a lab, it's not real.
Which seems logical, right? I want to know the bridge is safe before I drive on it.
Of course. But here's the pivot point. The source argues that you can't use a physical ruler to measure a non-physical reality. This is where we hit the bridge of faith.
Okay.
The guide says, and this is the key part, that the spiritual realm is intentionally veiled.
Wait, so it's not that we haven't found the proof yet, it's that we're not supposed to find it.
Exactly. Think of it like a test. If the teacher gives you the answer key before the exam, are you actually learning anything?
Or just copying.
You're just copying.
Yeah.
The source claims that this veil prevents scientific certainty on purpose, because if you had proof, you wouldn't need faith.
And that leads us right to the spiritual view on the other side. If you accept that premise, that the veil is there for a reason, the tangled scribble from the first side, it turns into a clear path.
It's a total reframe. Life stops being a series of random accidents and becomes a training ground for the soul.
That sounds nice, but what about the fox? The bad guys are still winning.
In the short term, yes. But look at the scales on the spiritual side. They're perfectly balanced.
Oh.
The argument here is that earthly justice is supposed to be flawed. This view guarantees ultimate justice in the afterlife. The fox gets his due, eventually.
It's playing the long game.
The longest game. It transforms suffering from just bad luck into resistance training. You're lifting heavy weights to build up spiritual muscle.
But you still have to make that leap. The guide shows faith as a literal key unlocking a door. You have to just trust the process without seeing the result.
That's the catch. The worldly view relies on the visible. The spiritual view relies on the invisible. One says, show me, and the other says, trust me.
It really does change the stakes. If the silence from the universe is actually a backdrop for growth, then maybe the confusion is the point.
It sort of frames the silence as necessary, which brings up a pretty provocative thought to leave you with. What if the veil was lifted tomorrow? I mean, if the sky opened up and we had undeniable scientific proof of judgment and the afterlife, all of it, would our good choices still count as soul training?
Huh. Right. Would we be good people? Or would we just be obedient because we know the cameras are rolling?
Exactly. Maybe the uncertainty is the only way we can find out who we really are.
Heavy stuff to mull over.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for taking the leap with us on this deep dive.
Catch you next time.